Welcome back. Our conversations continue with Attorney General candidates Democrat Josh Collin, Republican Eric Toney. Another role of the AG is to represent the state, the legislature, various interests in the state in litigation. If you can be brief, I want to know, Mr. Call, in what cases have you or will you refuse to represent the state's interests and why?
Well, the role of the Attorney General, as you said, is to represent the state in cases. There are some cases where somebody has done something that is just not legally defensible, and so in those cases, we have to decline to represent people. In other cases, we may have a conflict that prevents us from representing people. And sometimes there are different sides of a case you could potentially take. And the abortion ban case is an example of that. There are statutes that are in conflict under Wisconsin law. There were statutes passed after Roe v. Wade that are inconsistent with the 1849 ban. So we have gone to court to argue that those more recent statutes are the ones that control and that the 1849 ban is not enforceable. Now, Mr. Toney's made clear he would take the opposite position. He would be on the side of the 1849 ban and trying to keep that law without exceptions for rape or incest in place.
In terms of representing state interests, are there cases where you wouldn't?
It's about the rule of law, not saying, well, I don't like this law or this statute, I'm not going to enforce it. I will defend the law here in Wisconsin. The legislature makes the law. We defend the law. Our Attorney General has decided to pick and choose, just like when he filed a lawsuit trying to remove a DNR board member, where I called on him to dismiss the lawsuit, and he didn't do it. Even the Dane County judge said he was wrong on the law and dismissed his lawsuit, which the Supreme Court agreed. But I want to touch on, he talks about, he hasn't even read criminal complaints and speaks of the facts, just like when Tony Evers condemned and convicted that police officer in the Jacob Blake shooting, and our Attorney General was silent when he had the facts and had to have known Jacob Blake was armed with and had a knife.
Let me ask you back to this question real quickly. Hypothetically, the Attorney General represented the State Elections Commission and the administrator in the Gableman investigation. Would you have done the same as Attorney General?
I would follow the law. I would defend the law and the state agencies and employees of the state of Wisconsin because that's our job. It doesn't matter if we agree with it because we have to defend the law here in Wisconsin. Certainly, I believe that certain procedures and policies were not followed by the Wisconsin Election Commission. It's painfully clear by looking at the statute that they exceeded their lawful authority. That was not what the subject of the Gableman investigation was. That went beyond that issue.
All right, a final thought and a final question after this.